of Assessors to order at 9 a.m. on Thursday, April 15th, 2021. I would ask everyone to bear with me because I'm obliged to read a rather lengthy opening statement. Good morning and welcome to the Board of Assessors meeting. As Chair of the Board of Assessors, I find due to the state of emergency declared by the Governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the Governor's Emergency Order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. All members of the Board of Assessors have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen to this meeting through dialing the following number: 929-205-6099. Once again, that number is 929-205-6099, and using the meeting ID number 822-4878-5345. And once again, the meeting ID number is 822-4878-5345, and password is 989839. And once again, the password is 989839. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashville's website at nashvillehampshire.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashville Public Library. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049. Once again, that number is 603-821-2049, and they will help you connect. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all the votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, the reason they are not able to attend the meeting in person, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will now call the roll. Mr. Early.
This is Robert Early, a member of the Board of Assessors. I am following the Governor's executive order and joining the meeting remotely from home. There is no one here in the room with me.
Mr. Bergeron.
This is Paul Bergeron, member of the Board of Assessors. I too am following the Governor's executive order and joining the meeting remotely from home. There is no one here in the room with me.
I'm Daniel Hansberry, member of the Board of Assessors. I'm following the Governor's order and joining the meeting remotely, and there is no one present in the room with me. Okay, the first order of business is the minutes. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the public meeting minutes from the meeting of April 1st, 2021, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any errors or corrections?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Gurley?
I was wondering about the minutes of our meeting on April 5th to.
I ran that by legal and they said that they're captured in this because I noticed that on the agenda myself too.
Okay. No other questions.
All right. Seeing none, I will call the roll. The motion is to waive the reading of the minutes of the public session of April 1st, 2021, accept them and place them on file. Mr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the non-public meeting minutes from the meeting of the Board of Assessors, which was held on April 1st, 2021?
So moved.
Accept them and place them on file. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any errors or corrections? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, motion is adopted. At this time, I would like to recognize Richard Vincent, who is the department head for the assessing department, who has some comments that he would like to make to the board. Mr. Vincent, good morning.
Good morning and thank you. And I'll apologize. We have some drilling up above us on the first or second floor. So you may hear the drilling in the background. So I'll make this as brief as possible. So what I've included in the packet is the quarterly report that went to the Board of Tax and Land Appeals on the revaluation project. Included in that report are the updates I receive every 2 weeks from Vision Technologies. So on the latest report in the packet, Vision is approximately 75% complete on the initial inspections for residential properties. There are 25,605 improved residential properties. They've measured a little over 19,000. So that's 75%. And then on the commercial properties, there are 1,964 properties. They inspected roughly 791 of those for 40%. And I've also included minutes from the March 18th meeting when Vision met with the Board of Assessors and discussed the project status. And then the last item that I included was the assessing department monitor. That was being done monthly originally. It was recently switched to a quarterly report, just due to time constraints. That was the last item that I included in the report to the Board of Tax and Land Appeals. Are there any questions?
The questions for Mr. Vincent,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Early?
Mr. Vincent, the Vision report shows 233 full refusals. Is that refusing to allow people to come on the property? Or I know we're not trying to do interior inspections at this time. Is that it won't let them even come on the property?
Yeah, I believe that's a full refusal. We do have some residents that call us or email us and let us know that they don't want anybody on their property. There's probably, I'm sure that there are also some refusals at the door. So when the Vision data collector knocks on the door, the homeowner will, property owner will tell the data collector that they don't want anybody there.
Huh. Do we have any recourse on that?
No, that's the property owner's right to refuse any inspection at all.
I mean, can we do a measurement from the sidewalk or?
Well, we can do a review, not a measurement, but a review from the sidewalk. To make sure that the general information is correct. So we can look at the sketch and look at the house or the building, look at the outbuildings from the street, just to make sure that what we have on the card looks reasonably correct to the best of the ability from the street.
That's the only question I had.
Other questions for Mr. Vincent?
I have none.
Mr. Vincent, I'm in the ward that they're currently doing, so they will ring my doorbell before they do anything on the property, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay,
That's typical practice.
okay. And then just to kind of reiterate what has been said at prior meetings, they will have both an ID badge and then they have some kind of document that shows or proves their legitimacy to be on the property. Is that correct? So there's two forms of information that you can ask for from the employee of Vision, correct?
Right, they'll have a letter, an introduction letter from our office.
Okay.
and their ID.
Okay. And then just one more question on the data that you handed out. There's 25,605 residential properties, 1,964 commercial industrial properties. And then in addition to those, there's what, somewhere between what, 1,000 and 2,000 tax exempt properties in the city, correct? Because the total number approaches, what is it, around 29 or 30,000, correct, for total properties?
Correct.
Just out of curiosity, do you have that, the actual total number of properties in the city, including the taxes?
I had that open before the meeting and they closed it. So
Oh, that's all right.
You're with,
That's okay
you're
then.
with me. I can get to it quickly. Let's see this one.
I'll give you a moment to find that. We can
Yeah.
move on. All right, so at this time, I would like to recognize Lindsay Monahan, who has some solar exemption requests that she's going to present. Ms. Monahan?
Good morning. This morning I have the 6 solar exemptions with a recommendation of approval.
Are there any questions for Ms. Monahan?
No,
Is there a motion to grant the solar exemptions as presented per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, motion is adopted. Does that conclude your report, Ms. Monahan?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I would recognize Amanda Mazerol, who has exemptions and credits that she's going to present. Ms. Mazerol?
Morning. Today I have 10 veterans credits that I would like to recommend for approval.
Are there any questions for Ms. Mazerol on those credits?
Nope.
Is there a motion to grant the veterans credits as presented per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, motion is adopted. Ms. Mazerol?
And the last I have is 2 veterans that I need to recommend for denial as per the reasons stated in the packet.
Are there any questions for Ms. Mazerol on that?
No.
Is there a motion to deny the veterans credits as presented per the attached list?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes, motion is adopted. Does that conclude your report, Ms. Mazerol?
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. At this time, I recognize Mr. Mandiel, who has an abatement recommendation for the board. Mr. Mandiel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I have an abatement for 6 Kendall Way. The taxpayer bases their request on data errors. The city recommends approval.
Questions for Mr. Mandiel?
Nope.
Where's Kendall Way? What part of the city is that in, Mr. Mandiel?
It's on the southwest part of the city up off of Ridge Road in that
Okay,
area. Yeah,
all right. Okay, thank you.
very close to the Dunstable line.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 6 Kendall Way from $539,000 to $522,500?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. Does that conclude your report, Mr. Mandiel?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I would recognize Mr. Greg Turgis, who has an in-house correction for us. Mr. Greg Turgis, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, board. Thank you. What I have for you this morning is an in-house correction for a property that the city purchased on February 12th of 2021. And the in-house correction is for the prorated tax amount from the time they purchased it till March 31st of 2021.
Okay, so
Any
this is,
questions?
this is not, so it's not the assessment. I thought that was awfully small for the assessment. So
No,
it's the tax, I should say the prorated tax.
correct.
All right, let me change this. Okay. Yeah, I thought that kind of jumped off the.
Yeah,
Is that for the new middle school? Is that what's happening with that property?
that is my understanding. Yes.
Okay. All right, are there other questions for Mr. Greg Turgis?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, is there a motion to approve the prorated tax in the amount of $585.02 for the property located at 36 Buck Meadow Road?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. Thank you. Does that conclude your report, Mr. Turgis?
It does, yes. Thank
Thank
you.
Is there any unfinished business to come before the board?
No.
Okay. So public comment is next on the agenda. I would just remind members of the public that there is a 5-minute limitation to public comment. Is there anyone signed up to speak, Director Kleiner?
There are 2 citizens that are attending the meeting.
Okay, do either of them want to address the board? Do you know?
Yes. This is Lori Ortolano,
And could you state your address, please?
41 Berkeley Street.
All right,
I'm watching the clock. It's about 9:17. Just a couple of things I want to go through. At the meeting on March 18th, Ms. Colhoun read a statement into the record, and she made the comment that if the legal office is advising the board not to comply with the law as a matter of transparency, please provide the public with information on this. She was referring to some issues regarding the compliance with RSAs. And I want to just speak that Attorney Bolton was pretty set off by this and became pretty aggressive in commenting to this. And his response to this was, what you just heard as far as my office or my personal activities, not a word was true. I've never advised this board or the assessing department not to follow the law. First of all, attorney-client privilege doesn't even require him to say that. But he took this so personal, saying not a word of it was true. All she said was if the legal office. She didn't accuse anyone. And Attorney Bolton, in my opinion, embodies the absolute worst character a citizen would want to see in a municipal lawyer. And most likely he finds this to be a compliment. But it shouldn't be about destroying the character of our citizens. Rather, he should simply just address a misunderstanding and the issue itself. It's so personal for him. He's like a rabid dog. And all he wants to do is bite all the time. And I'd like to see that change. And Ms. Colhoun deserves the same respect I do when it comes to receiving answers. Everyone does. So that's one issue. Non-public minutes. I can't find where you are releasing, when you do release non-public minutes, that they're put in the record. So I can't track hiring. I can't track settlements. I've addressed this before. I've asked Attorney Leonard to help me find settlement agreements or direct me to the minutes. She refuses to do so. I'm going to make a suggestion and talk to Rick Vincent about posting non-public minutes, but I don't think we're in compliance with the law, and it's too hard for the public to dig them out and find them. I just want to be able to track settlement issues and hiring, and I'm unable to do that. So the other thing is, at the March 18th meeting, I did ask for the city to provide me with the permit data that was being given to Vision, a permit report. Mr. Vincent said that was going to Vision Appraisal, I would imagine for the April 1st inventory date. I would like to see that report. That's something I've always been interested in, and I didn't want to make you run a separate one. You're running it for them, so just provide it to me. The other thing is qualified sales. I had an issue come up at my abatement appeal, and it was regarding the qualification of the sale at 45 Berkeley Street. And my abatement and my appeal was the appraiser did not use 45 Berkeley Street because it was, in his opinion, not an arm's length transaction and not a qualified sale. And this concerns me a great appeal because Nashua has used it as a qualified sale through like 6 different levels of review. The DRA included it in the ratio study as qualified. The city submitted the data to the DRA as qualified. KRT used it in a sales grid, the only one they did, as qualified. Gary Turgis used it as qualified on the abatement for my neighbor at 39 Berkeley Street, and Rex Norman approved it. So, and I know the issue with that house and the sale, and I have talked to the selling agent who said that she told the city hired appraiser it was in fact an arm's length transaction. So, you know, it affects my property assessment, the qualification of these sales and how they're used. If one appraiser hired outside by the city says it's not qualified and everyone else in the city used it as qualified to reduce the level of assessment of my neighborhood properties, it affects me. And I want that addressed. I mean, I really want to understand what's happening here with qualified sales. And I did ask Gary Turgis for a response to that. And I feel I'm entitled to that. I've asked twice about the abatement at 39 Berkeley Street, particularly when I only had a 2019 appeal. It affects my level of assessment. And, you know, it's important to me. I should be able to look at other assessments and compare them to mine and make the argument. The other thing is, Mr. Vincent in his town, Lebanon, their bylaws allow citizens to comment on any abatement that's being approved, sort of like what the zoning board does in the meeting. And I would like to ask Mr. Vincent to change the bylaws and make the recommendation that you allow that to happen in Nashua. I think that's perfect. It's so open and transparent, and it treats these abatements with the respect that, you know, and the understanding that we're all in this together and we all get to comment on this information. So please consider making that change to the bylaws. I love what they do up in Lebanon. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm all set.
Thank you. And Director Klein has said there's a second citizen who would like to speak. If that individual could identify themselves and state their address, please.
It appears as if they're not coming forward, Chair.
All right, thank you. Okay, 3 things I comment on. I guess I would say that Attorney Bolton is the embodiment of zealous representation when it comes to representing his clients. The settlements, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mr. Vincent, but once they're signed, they do become public information, correct? As soon as they're signed, the settlements are available to the public. That information is public information, correct?
I'm not sure. I'll look into that.
Okay,
If
Attorney
I
Leonard,
may, Chairman?
go right ahead.
Yes, this is Attorney Celia Leonard. They are public information, and I just want to say that to my knowledge, the city has been and will continue to fully comply with document requests under the right to know law from anybody, settlements or otherwise. And also, to my knowledge, the city is following the law when it comes to sealed, non-public minutes. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And then the third thing I wanted to comment on, and I've stressed this before, but I've stopped saying it at the opening of meetings, is the public has to realize that the Board of Assessors is not in charge of personnel, because the citizen mentioned hiring, but once again, we're not in charge of the hiring, retaining, promoting, disciplining, or discharging of personnel. So personnel issues are not going to be discussed by this board. So there's really no information that would be in any minutes generated by the board relative to hiring. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman Hansberry?
I'm sorry, no, the public question and comment period has ended. All right, so are there any comments by board members?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Early?
are the non-public minutes made public at some point? I mean, is there a?
Oh, you have to have a motion by the board to unseal the minutes. So they remain sealed until the board deems they become public information.
That's what I thought, so I wasn't sure why Mrs. Ortolano was looking for the non-public minutes. But anyway, all right, that's what I thought. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other board member comments, Mr. Bergeron?
I have none.
And I have none. Okay. Is there a motion to go into non-public session for two reasons? First, to discuss matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant, pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical C. Second, under 91-A, Roman numeral 3, I'm sorry, Arabic numeral 3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical L, for the consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or orally, to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Let the record show that we have entered non-public session at 9:26 a.m.